ज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जना शलाकया चक्षुर्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः. गुरुवे गौरचन्द्राय राधिकायै तदालये कृष्णाय कृष्णभक्ताय तद्भक्ताय नमो नमः. Yam pravajantam anupeta apeta kritam rapayano viraha katara ajuhava putreti tan maitaya taravo binedus tam sarvabhutam hridayam munimanatosmi bhaktya vihina parada lakshay iptastakamari tarangamadye Kripa Maitram Sharanam Prapanna Vrinde Namaste Charanara Vindam Tavevasmi Najivami Tvaya Vina Iti Vigyaya Radhe Ram Nayanam Charanandike Pancha Kalpatirubhascha Kripa Sindhu Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Okay. Begin by offering our most humble obeisance unto the lotus feet of our beloved Gurus, unto Sri Guru Pada Padmanitya Bhavishta Om Vishnu Padasta Tarsat Sri Srimad Abhaya Charnaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada, and unto Sri Guru Pada Padmanitya Bhavishta Om Vishnu Pad Asta Tarsat Sri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj, unto our exalted Rupanuga Guru Varga, and all the assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis. So continue reading from the Sri Damodarasatam, beautiful book. Commentary, translation of the Damodarastaka prayers with commentary by Sri Sanatana Goswami and further illumination by Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj. We are on verse 2. Let's see, where did we leave off? We give all this jumbling around. This little platform I have the computer on was crooked. It's still a little crooked, but what are you going to do? Okay. So, we've been reading the second verse, right? Let's read the translation for that. The verse itself is Rudam tam murhur netra yugman marjantam karam boja yugmena satanka netram muhu swasha kampa trire kanka kanta stita graiva damodaram bhakti badham. Weeping incessantly, he rubs his eyes with his two lotus hands. His eyes are filled with fear. He takes heavy breaths again and again that cause the pearls and other ornaments around his neck, which is marked by 3 gracefully curved lines, to tremble. I offer pranam unto that Damodar who is bound by his mother's Vatsalya Bhakti. Okay, so we were hearing... Oops, where's my little thing here? Hearing about Krishna had just pulled the mortar in between the two Arjun trees, twin Arjun trees. And 2 extraordinary persons came out, offered their prayers. Krishna explained the extraordinary benediction they were getting, seeing him face to face. And even though they were really not qualified prior to this in any way, they were just the sons of Kuvera. Well, that may have been a qualification because he's a great devotee. And he had a very special relationship with Narad Muni. And because of that, even though they were offensive to Sri Narad, he had compassion for them and cursed them, which they ultimately benefited from. The time for which they were Arjun trees was, it says 100 celestial years, which was like 15 million earthly years. They were there in Braj. Apricot Braj. They weren't able to witness any pastimes, but then just a few years before this, Krishna took birth there, and they were able to witness all these childhood pastimes. What state of consciousness then? It's never described. Whether they were just completely covered as trees, or whether they were aware but bound as trees. I don't know. But it does say that they were able to witness these pastimes. So that's a great, great benefit. And thus, when they were finally relieved, it seems, wow, what horrible imprisonment. But, as Jivadharma says, if the end result is so great, how could anything that you have to do to get to that be considered, cruel or punishment? They got the ultimate benediction. And now they're Snigdhakant and Madhukant, the very narrators of the stories in Gopal Champu, the panegyrists at the house of Nanda Maharaj. So, let's see. Okay, so we left off here. We heard the final conclusion, not the conclusion of that pastime, how they got to that. He was saying, Srila Gurudev, that which cannot be obtained even after accumulating pious credit, sukriti, for millions of lifetimes, can be achieved very quickly by the causeless mercy of Sri Guru, Vaishnavas, and Sri Hari. Right? And the devotees who are expert in relishing the loving moods of the Braja Gopis are the treasure house of Lobha Maya Bhakti, devotion to Sri Krishna that is full of intense longing. So that Lobha Maya that they have in their hearts, Narad was able to transmit that, right? Not by millions of lives, right? What is that verse? Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavatamati Kriyatam Yarikatopi Labdyate Tatra Lolyam Api Mulyam Ekalam Janma Koti Sukritarna Labdyate. That very rare thing which can't be acquired by hundreds of thousands of lifetimes of pious credit can be achieved with greed, right? That's the only way that we can get this. And the only way we get that greed is by associating with personalities who are imbued with it. It's like, Srila Prabhupada always gave the example of the iron rod and the fire. Iron rod has none of the qualities of fire. It's stiff, rigid, cold, hard. But in contact with fire, if it's placed in the fire will pervade that iron rod. The iron rod doesn't become like fire, but because the fire, it doesn't become fire. But because fire pervades it, it becomes like fire. It takes on the quality of fire. That fire within that infuses it with the ability to burn things, to give off light, right? So, then, how can these moods be attained? When a person hankers for the same relationship that these great Rasik devotees have with their Swamini, Sri Radha, and with her companions, and when he hankers to have the same deep possessiveness, mamata, for her, and the same intense inclination to serve her, seva vasana, then he can attain these moods. Only then can one truly serve such Rasik personalities, and then one's life is successful. There is no other way. No other way. Right? So, association. So, association directly in the association of pure devotees, hearing from them directly, seeing them, observing their behavior, but also hearing about them. Hearing about these great historical personalities, but also hearing about all the devotees of the Lord, right? What is that verse? Krishna smadam janam chasya. Krishna smadam janam tasya prestam neja samihitam. Right? What is it? Tata, kata. Anyway, it means that you hear about Krishna smadam, and Janam Chasya. Also you hear about the jana, the devotees who are associated with Krishna, right? And then this arises. We begin to hear about these devotees, like hear about these pastimes. And because this is the natural quality of the soul, it awakens. It must awaken in the heart. So Nanda Baba came running after he heard the deafening crash made when the massive Arjun trees fell. He saw Kanaya still tied up, standing between the fallen trees. Nanda Baba was shaken to see Krishna standing so close to the fallen trees and thought, oh, today Sri Narayan has given us so much protection. What would have happened if Kanaya had been underneath those trees when they fell? Mother Jashoda also came running. When she saw the horrible scene, she became shocked. Aghast, she thought. Aghast, like just so disturbed, she thought, alas, what has happened? Nanda Baba asked the children, how did this happen? In their broken language, the children explained. I've heard Srila Narayana Maharaja narrate this, and he starts talking ba 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 ba, stammering like the children. As soon as Kanaya pulled the grinding mortar against the two trees, they fell over, and two very beautiful people came out. They looked like demigods. They folded their hands and offered prayers to Kanaya. Then they circumambulated him and went north. But Nanda Baba was not convinced. He took Krishna. What? That's preposterous. How could these giant trees, which have stood for millennia, so thick and strong? We know in this world how big they are, we don't know, but in this world, there are trees that are 150, 200 feet high. Not as many as there used to be, just a few. But in California, in the middle 1800s, there were huge, giant trees that were living for that amount, 5,000 years. These trees were living for 15 million years. How big they must have been. They may have reached their full height. But if the trees that we know are so large, these trees must have been at least like that. If you think of the pictures you've seen of these giant sequoias, how wide they were and how tall. So, and little baby Krishna just went between them. They were joined at the base, but he crawled between them, and he did not touch the trees, but the mortar tied to the rope, tied to his belly did, and that was enough to cause them to crash. It was their time. So, they looked like demigods. They went north. But Nanda Baba was not convinced. He took Krishna on his lap. Krishna had been keeping silent until now, but as soon as he sat on his father's lap, he burst into tears and began to wail, all this pent-up emotion, right? I've been tied up. He was so frustrated. Now all this activity's going on, just like a little child. When Nanda Baba and the cowherd boys saw Krishna crying tears, they also started streaming. Tears started also streaming from their own eyes. Nanda Baba pacified his darling son and untied the knot. Right? But these are tears of prema. They look like our emotions, but they're so superior in every way. The knot that bound Krishna was factually made of Vatsalya Ras, not rope. Consequently, only his associates in Vatsalya Ras or Madhura Ras have the power to untie such a knot. Krishna's friends and servants who are in Sakya Ras and Dasya Ras, respectively, or those situated in a passive or neutral relationship with him in Shanta Ras, could not have untied the rope tied by Mother Jashoda. Even within Vatsalya Ras, there is a gradation. The love of Mother Jashoda, who actually bound Krishna, is superior to the love of Nanda Baba, who released him. When Mother Jashoda saw what had happened to her Kanaya, she could not move. She simply stood there like a statue. This is one of the Vyabhichari Bhavs. She was absolutely stunned. It just completely took her over, completely submerged every sense of self, every emotion, and she became stunned. What is that, stamba? I can't remember the Sanskrit word. She could not even cry. Nanda Baba made Kanaya a little peaceful and then gave him a sweet laddu from his cloth bag. He always carries something in his cloth bag because you never know when your child is going to be there. Oh, would you like a laddu? Kanaya, he asked, tell me, who tied you up? Mother, Kanaya replied. Becoming silent, Nanda Baba then resolved to punish Mother Jashoda with the greatest punishment a loved one can give. So even though he has so much affection for his wife, affection for Krishna is even greater. And so, she's committed offense against my son. Ordinarily, a husband and wife, they'll stand unified. If there's some dispute with the child, if it's a healthy relationship, their relationship is considered primary. But here in Vrindavan, Krishna is the primary Vishaya for everyone's love. So, the greatest punishment a loved one can give. For the entire remainder of the day, Nanda Baba did not speak a single word to her. In a grave mood, he took Krishna and Balaram in his arms and went to bathe in Brahmandagat. After everyone had bathed, he returned with them to the Goshala. Meanwhile, Mother Jashoda had become as dry and lifeless as a piece of dry wood. Right? Dry. So the heat, this internal heat, her spiritual transcendental emotions interacting with the life airs was drying her. She was feeling so much distress. In the Goshala, Nanda Baba filled Krishna and Balaram's bellies by giving them rock candy and squirting milk into their mouths directly from the cow's udders. When they came home, Mother Rohini served them the food she had prepared, and Nanda Baba silently fed the children. After they had finished, he took some himself. Then they returned to the Goshala. So this would be noon, I suppose, noonday lunch. In the evening, Upananda's wife, because this all happened in the morning, tying Krishna up, then his friends coming over. In the evening, Upananda's wife came to Nanda Baba along with Mother Rohini and the other elderly ladies of Braj. Mother Rohini told Balaram, "Go now and bring Krishna." That day, however, Krishna had given Balaram such a push that he fell quite far backward. So Balaram went to get him, in other words, and then, I'm taking you back to Mother, and to Mother Rohini, but Krishna was still angry. And normally Balaram, as superior, has the upper hand, and Krishna will be a little submissive to him as well. But Balaram's a little older and stronger in their Leela. But this time Krishna just pushed him. And Balaram fell back, astonished. Oh, he's angry. Right? So, finally, Upananda's wife and Mother Rohini spoke to Kanaya. "Look, Kanaya," they said, "your mother is crying so much. Go to her." They felt so much compassion for dear Mother Jashoda. They're like their sister. "No, I will not go," he answered. "Then come to me," Rohini said. But Kanaya answered strongly, "No, I won't go near you. When Mother was tying me up, I called to you so loudly, but you did not come. I won't even go near you," because she was with her son, Baladev, at the house of Upananda. She wasn't there. So Mother Rohini, she's very clever. So then she says, "Well, with whom will you eat?" And he answers, "With Father." And then she says, "Well, with whom will you play?" Because these are all things that a small child will do with their mother, right? Also eating, playing, I will play with Dalbaya, my big brother Balaram. But with whom will you sleep? Because he slept on the bed with his mother. With father. Rohini said, until now you have always slept next to your mother. But today you will sleep by your father? Your mother is crying for you. Then Nanda Baba said, should I beat your mother? He raises his hand, right? Should I? And then upon hearing these words, Kanaya grabbed his father's raised hand and answered. Now, this he couldn't bear. He had some anger, right? But to think that his dear mother would be beaten, so he grabs his father and says, no, no. He doesn't say anything, no. So he's softening. And then Rohini said, and if mother suddenly dies, they write dies in here, but when Gurudev speaks this, he says, he doesn't say that, she doesn't say that word, but she indicates it. It's subtly there. And if mother suddenly, and then he understands her meaning. Then as soon as Krishna heard this, he burst into loud sobs and ran into Mother Rohini's lap. Because this is a temporary mood also. Krishna also has a temporary mood of annoyance and anger towards his mother. But now all these feelings are coming up, and he runs to Mother Rohini, and then she brings him to Mother Jashoda, and when she placed him on Jashoda's lap, Jashoda began to weep loudly. Sri Krishna also cried. Nanda Baba's heart melted, and he began to cry. Rohini and all the other residents of Braj who were gathered there also began to cry. Weeping filled the entire atmosphere. Finally, the respected elders of Braj pacified everyone. That night, when it was time for dinner, Nanda Baba told Kanaya, go and bring your mother to me. Sri Krishna immediately went and caught hold of his mother's veil. And although she hesitated to go, Krishna brought her to Nanda Baba. She served dinner to everyone, and they all took their meal with great joy. Thereafter, Mother Jashoda took Sri Krishna up in her arms and went to her bedroom. And this ends the Digdarshini Vriti, the commentary on the second verse. So tomorrow we'll do verse 3. Iti drik svalila virananda kunde swago shamni majantam makya payantam tadiyeshita geshu bhaktyarjitadvam puna prematastam shatavriti vande. By his childhood pastimes, such as this Dham Bandhana Leela, he perpetually drowns all the residents of Gokul, his gopis, cows, calves, and so forth, who are all manifested by his pastime potency in pools of bliss. He thus informs those who have knowledge of his absolute divinity that only the pure and simple love of these devotees can conquer him. Again, hundreds of times I offer loving obeisance unto Sri Damodar Krishna. So we'll hear these same themes are being repeated over and over in every verse, but in every verse the understanding is growing in them, of them. Okay, so we'll stop here. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Srila Gurudev, all glories to the simple devotees. Jai, Jai, Jai. All glories to this beautiful Sri Damodar Leela.